Welcome, U.S. Virgin Islands Chess. This is Colin Heim again with a short narrative, 23 move miniature, again off Lichess.org. It's another 1900 battle, kind of intermediate level. This will be on the intermediates playlist. You guys can watch it as much as you want. Pretty good modern defense, modern opening. My opponent here, rated somewhere around 1900, started the game with went to d4. I responded here with Team Black, your instructor, coach. Started the game with g6 and c4, played by my opponent. Okay, so bishop g7 now, the modern defense. That's the title for this opening. Knight f3 played by my opponent. d6, knight c3, knight f6, h3, and castles. Okay, so in this position, it's kind of almost like a Queen's Indian, or rather King's Indian defense, but that would be with something like e6 instead of d6. So it's sort of like a pseudo King's Indian after knight c3, knight f6, h3 now, just not allowing the knight to hop anywhere like to like g4 for example. So short castles by myself, bishop e3, knight c6, d5 now attacking the knight, queenside knight, and knight to e5. Okay, so knight e5 is not recommended in this position, guys. Find a better move for black. I'll give you a couple of seconds. Right, a better move is simply something like maybe knight to a5 or knight to b4. But instead in this game, guys, we went for knight to e5. The engine doesn't recommend this. Stockfish 11 doesn't like this move. Anyway, we played it anyway, so b3. Best move is just to capture, and after captures, maybe knight can gain a tempo here with something like rook to c1, or maybe even g4, as we mentioned here, rook c1, right? Sort of deviating from the notation here, maybe something like g4. And maybe white's doing a whole lot better in terms of development now. This c8 bishop isn't developed for Team Black, and that's not what happened. Anyways, continuing with the game now, my opponent just decided to play b3, and that's why I decided to capture the knight on f3. So knight captures f3 with check. E captures f3. Knight e4 now, played by myself. Actually just giving up a free knight here. Wanting to see... Actually, it was a misclick. I didn't put my piece on the right square. But I still had confidence that I could still somehow convert this position, even though I'm giving my opponent a free whole piece. So my opponent decides to take the free piece. Okay, now f5, attacking the knight that stole my free e4 knight. Well, captured it for free. Knight goes back to d2. And now it turns out that if you guys notice this move, bishop takes a1, now just going up a full exchange. That was not played in the game. Instead, bishop to c3. So just not taking that a1 rook, guys, but continuing the game. Rook to c1, bishop a5, bishop to d3, and now f4. Okay, so basically saying, okay, well, telling my opponent, yes, I'm down a whole minor piece. However, I'm ready to get my queen in the game, and I'm ready to push f4 immediately. Notice how Team White's pieces here, guys and girls, are all bunched up here in the center. The knights, the bishop, the queen is undeveloped. The rook is on c1, yes, but white has not castled. So, although black is down a minor piece, remember what we spoke about in the previous video, guys. Positional initiative. Positional initiative counts, and material comes next. The best players are those who have masteries of positional knowledge in certain functions of openings, middle game, main lines, variations, or otherwise. So let's continue now. f4 was played, bishop d4, rook e8 now played by myself, short castles by my opponent. Now e5, okay? Very interesting move now, e5, and we see that there is a pawn chain starting with c7, d6, e5, and now f4. So claiming some sort of boundary line there. Now forcing my opponent's bishop to drop back to somewhere like c3, not capturing, instead playing bishop to b6, now just eyeing that f2 pawn, of course, now saying maybe the rook can't move from f1, for example. Okay, so proceeding now, knight e4, played by my opponent, and queen to h4, guys. This is what I had planned, actually, after I gave up the free knight. Remember knight e4 and knight takes e4, going back to that? Okay, well this here, queen h4, is what I had planned here. Okay, so here's how it went. Queen c2, rook back to f8. Yeah, there was no need for the rook to be on e8 any longer, even though I did play rook e8. The rook goes back to f8. b4 played by my opponent. Rook f5 now, looking to double up on the h-file, attacking h3 pawn. And my opponent pushes c5, now attacking the bishop. Now letting my opponent know you can have this bishop. You can take it at your leisure. I'm going to swing my rook now to f5 on the next move, which is exactly what was played. And my opponent captured bishop on b6. And now here's a killer move, guys. Bishop takes h3. And there's really no defense here for Team White. It's just too jammed here on the h-file. And the move that White played in this position really didn't matter, but it was knight to g3, and find the winning combination here for Black after I give you a couple seconds. You can cheat and look at the notation, that's fine, but if you discover it on yourself, on your own time without looking at the notation, guys, feel free to do that now. Okay, so right, bishop captures e2, g2, and after king recaptures g2, then just queen to h2 mate, and the king has nowhere to go here. Thank you guys for watching this short miniature from Lichess. Should have got a little bit out of the piece sacrifice here, going back all the way to what I thought was a star move, knight e4, after of course knight f3 check and e captures, and then giving up a whole minor piece here, just for a subtle initiative, very quiet initiative. Also, guys, notice not taking the a1 rook here, as we mentioned. Engine says it's the best move, but no, just pinning that knight now to the king and saying, well, I'm about to gain a very big kingside advantage. And this was it again. So bishop d4, rook e8, castles, e5, forcing the bishop back, not capturing the dark square bishop, my opponent's dark squared bishop, knight e4, queen h4, queen c2 again, rook goes back to f8, and now pushing for the queen side, completely ignoring it here, guys, just knowing that once I get that rook swung now to h5, there is just a huge attack here. h3 is convincingly distraught, and knight to g3 does not do anything. After bishop captures, and let's just say knight captures here, guys, well then it's also here queen h1 checkmate. That is why there was virtually no defense. Thank you guys for watching this virtual online tutorial. Colin Heim, U.S. Virgin Islands Chess. Hope you guys are having a lovely time. See everyone on the other side. Thank you and bye-bye for now.